没有走完的路不会是终点，故事的走向是自己选择的坚持。
这个故事的开头还算不错，相信过程，相信自己走过的路。
那些最激动人心的冒险，从来不是单枪匹马的挑战。
과거는 잊으세요. 내일이 새로운 시작입니다. 내일 경기가 새로운 도전입니다.
我们愿意为胜利付出许多代价，改变只是其中之一。
어떤 사람이든 현재에 만족하지 않고 어떠한 사람이든 제자리 걸음을 하지 않는다.
过去的荣耀就存留在记忆中，这一抹红色要照亮未来。
为之付出的心血越多，收获的果实才越甘甜。
赛场上的事怎能尽如人意？我只想追求无愧于心。
保持微笑，胜利总会专顾你。
在尝过赢得一切的滋味之后，你绝对不会甘心做第二名。
尖矛和利刃是勇者的武器，也有最坚硬的盾和扬起风帆的大旗。
如果翻不过这座山， 他们就听不到你的故事。
这个故事的结局将由我们来谱写。为了无悔，为了胜利，为了站在世界这边。
It's another scorcher in Shanghai, and it's another scorcher in the LPL after last night's match of the week between Invictus Gaming and Edward Gaming. An incredible best of three that we all got to witness as we were all there watching it with us live. Right, viewer? Cough, cough, wink, wink. But now, we're getting into our next set. It's Suning versus FPX. You can see they're getting ready for today's matches by making sure they're fully charged and fueled up with their food. But welcome, everyone. I'm Dom. We've got Frosco here with me on the desk to break down today's matches. And let's get right into what's going on in the LPL, because we've got a lot to cover before we get into today's games. And let's bring up the standings so that everybody can see what is up with the LPL. Because after that Invictus Gaming win yesterday, they now find themselves head and shoulders above everyone else.
And we're going to draw your attention to kind of three separate categories on this standing. So first and foremost, top 4 teams in both East and Western Conference. The big surprise here is the fact that RNG have started to slide down into second. No surprise, Uzi has been missing from the roster, but kind of a surprise that they're still not finding the results that we would expect from that team. Likewise, Rogue Warriors starting to open up a lot of space between them and Edward Gaming. And reminder, if you haven't seen the LPL playoff gauntlet, it is brutal.
Oh yeah.
Every single spot on these standings matter, because it's the difference between seeding yourself into semifinals and being 2 best-of-5s away from Worlds versus another best-of-5, another best-of-5. Now we move into the middle of the pack. JD Gaming, Suning, TOP, and Snake. Big surprise, TOP. Who are they? We didn't know either. They've been rocketing up the standings, and they now find themselves in playoff contention. On the other side, though, it's a very tough race between Suning and LGD as we now move into the bottom side of standings.
Yeah, and that's where we look at the likes of OMG, Team WE, BLG, and Vici. These are the teams that are fighting for that final playoff spot. These are the teams that can play spoiler and upset all of the standings for the other teams.
Which is why today is so important. Suning versus FPX, JD versus Snake, RNG versus TOP. It's going to be a very, what I find, even defined matchup, especially between kind of these mid-tier pack teams, but the fight for 4th is very intense.
And that's what we see in our first and second game with Suning versus FPX and JD versus Snake. Of course, at the end of the day, we'll be looking for our upset between TOP and RNG. Can TOP actually take the win, as the Feasible 5 will take on the MSI and Rift Rival champions? And if ever there's a time to prove yourself, that's going to be it. Of course, course, there's still a lot more LPL for us to cover. If you're interested in knowing more about what's going on in the LPL, head on over to youtube.com/LPL content to check in on our podcast with special guest Brento Raz Mohammed.
Oh, wow, rude. Of course, I'm the special guest. I am not the host for that podcast, actually. And if you haven't taken a listen, I would highly recommend it. Spoiler alert, I go in on LGD. So if you just want to see a team just get verbally assaulted, probably. In the end, I do give them some compliments. That's middle of the podcast.
You got to give it a compliment sandwich. It's like, oh, they're playing good now. And then you get all the meaty, bad stuff. And then, yeah, but they're playing good now.
Fun fact, and so we say it on air, Raz actually took me up on a bet.
Did he?
He bets that if LGD make playoffs, that I have to wear a wig. And if they don't make playoffs, he's wearing a wig.
Hey.
I get to pick it.
Well, now we'll actually have to find that footage and play it on broadcast. So we make sure everyone is held accountable for what's going on into that. But hey, now it's time for us to take a look at those middle teams in detail, because again, we know our top teams. These are the teams that we saw at Rift Rivals. These are the teams that are fighting for first and second place. What we need to look at now is the fight for fourth, the battle between the East and the West to claim those final 2 playoff spots.
And the top 2 teams are both in the Western Conference. The bottom 2 teams are both in the Eastern Conference. So these are the teams that are directly competing against each other for that final spot. Now, kind of the big takeaway here is that FPX and Suning have the stronger, or excuse me, the easier schedule to take that 4th place spot. You can see the teams that they have remaining, FPX versus TOP. Guess what? FPX dodge RNG.
Yeah.
They don't have to face one of the top tier teams, and they're also already doing better in cross-conference. That said, if you go in and look at their domestic win rate, it's not looking too hot. 27% win rate versus the 40% win rate that TOP have. So FPX need to make it count in cross-conference so they can skyrocket ahead of TOP and finish strong.
Of course, the spoiler that we're looking for that, though, is BLG. This is the team at the bottom of the standings with Vici just behind them that can upset this whole chase for FPX. And this is the sort of blue shell team. If you're playing Mario Kart and you pick up, you're in last place, you pick up your, what is it, the prize box, the loot box? I feel like you're about to backhand me for not getting the name correct.
Well, you got it correct, but it's actually WE. So it's not just you, it's also our producer.
Yes. Also, yeah, Billy Gaming.
Because we're talking about the Western Conference.
Yes, in the Western Conference, we're looking at FPX, which is WE on the other side that gets the chance to play spoiler on the other side. And this is where we actually need to take a look then at the East, at the team that Billy can't upset, which is TOP and Suning, who are fighting for that 4th place spot.
LGD and Suning. I know, there's so many teams. It's just a giant sandwich. It goes like this. It's LGD and Suning that are in the race for the Eastern Conference. It's TOP and FPX that are in the race for the Western Conference. Your 2 spoiler teams are BLG and WE. And again, I weighted towards Suning in the same way that I weighted it towards FPX. Strength of schedule. That said, in cross-conference, LGD are starting to rise. 3-2 versus 1-3. But LGD need to face EDG, and they also don't get an extra match in hand, whereas Suning get to face Snake, TOP, and FPX, have that extra padding of the game, have a much easier strength of schedule, and they also have a much higher domestic win rate. So then it's the BLG blue shell. BLG can really throw a wrench in all of these plans if they decide to skyrocket through the standings, and it's depending, do LGD take down BLG, do Suning take down BLG? Because the answer to that match will probably be the answer to actually who claims that last spot into playoffs.
And of course, as we get closer and closer to playoffs, we return back to regular conferences, and we actually get to see these teams play against some of our top names in the league right now, Invictus Gaming, Rogue Warriors, RNG, and EDG, but then you add Jingdong into the lineup. Then you begin to add Snake and start taking account into that. It's not just 2 or 3 good teams in the league. We're looking at 6 massive names, massive organizations who already have their eyes set on playoffs. So trying to get those wins and lock down that 4th place is going to be no easy feat for these teams. But let's actually get into our matchup now. Suning versus FPX. This is one that could very well decide one of these playoff spots, because both of these teams coming into this are 4 and 6 right now.
Go ahead and take a look at the lineups. It's going to be Suning, Xiao Al, Hacker, Angel, Fury, and Yoon. Now, if you haven't watched Suning in a minute, you might be thinking, where's Knight? Doesn't matter. He hasn't been here the entire time, and Suning are still sitting very happy in standings.
FPX, though, trying to bring them down. It's Gimgoon, Alex, their new jungler, Cool, LWX, and Chris.
One of the loudest teams that we have in the LPL. I'm actually very excited that we get to have them in the Shanghai arena behind us, because you can hear them from all the way up here when plays start to happen. Particularly, we are looking at Cool. He's the veteran of the squad. It's always been the storyline about, can he temper the aggression of the squad, especially as we have Gimgoon on our screen? Can he control this this brawling fiesta?
Yeah, and that always has been the playstyle for FPX, a team that thrives in chaos. 2v2, 3v3, 2v4, 2v5, 5 if they even find themselves in that position to try and take that fight. FPX is a team that doesn't shy away from taking reckless fights because they think they can outplay it, whether or not they actually can. Now, where that could be an opportunity is against a team like Suning, a team that is known for having one of the best early games in the league. If Suning get to play their measured 10-15 minutes and take an advantage, that could put FPX behind, unless FPX are willing to get little elbow grease in there.
Elbow themselves in.
Try to bring them down.
Yeah, Suning, we call them Baby Invictus Gaming, and they share a lot in tandem with Invictus Gaming in that they're a very strong early game team. They're a very strong Lane Kingdom oriented team. And while they are quite clever, I feel like their team fighting is a little bit stronger than ING, but across pound for talent, they just don't have the same superstars. But they do try to muscle their victories in the same maneuver, whereas JD Gaming, as our two kind of, brand new organizations coming into the LPL, the next generation of LPL talent, are kind of like Baby Edward Gaming. So if you want to be a hipster, if you want to grab hold of one of these teams before they're the next hot thing, do you want Baby Edward Gaming or do you want Baby IG? If you want Baby IG, Suning's the team to watch today.
Yeah, and check out the LPL store for our new flannel jerseys, along with
flannel jerseys,
along with coffee mugs that are labeled with crazy unique.
Hold up, here's a problem. It is literally like 50 degrees Celsius outside
36.
right now. 50 degrees Celsius outside right now.
70% humidity.
You walk out, you feel like you're swimming to work. I almost took a kayak to the studio today, and you're telling me that they have flannel jerseys?
If you like sweat, Shanghai is the place to be during the summer because holy cow, it is hot. But
we
again,
have bigger problems.
It really is a bigger problem. But to keep following up on this matchup, though, we've got to take a look at some of these lanes because, again, FPX is a team that thrives in chaos. They're looking for cool, hilariously, to cool them off, to temper their aggression throughout their chaotic styles. Yeah, exactly. But he's going up against Angel, the new mid laner. I say new, he's been there for about 2 or 3 weeks now for Suning. Angel could try to put a wrench in that by bringing Cool down. That said, Cool is quite a veteran player.
Yeah, and it's about the difference of playstyle and the difference of champion pool that both these teams have. Angel has shown a propensity towards the assassins, look for things like the Talons. He can really pop off there, whereas Cool, of course, just has so much versatility to his champion pool. Legacy player, has played from the very beginning of the LPL, one of our first players that came into the league, and he does it all.
Yeah. This is a guy who's been around for a very long time. I'm just waiting for the day that Ari comes back into the meta so that Cool can show us how good he really is on that champion.
Why do you need Ari when you've got his beautiful man bun? As you can see, the observers know what's up. It's between Cool and Angel today. That's our big hype matchup.
And that's what we're going to be keeping our eye on. Of course, Suning find themselves on the blue side. Again, it's Kindred, Rakan, Tom Kench. 3 really big enablers for FPX, especially LWX in that bottom lane, getting rid of that Rakan and Kench. And then even priority picking away the Shen.
This is interesting because it feels like they're trying to set up a trap for Nocturne. So you see that Kindred and Talia are the 2 primary junglers that are banned, and then your first pick is Shin. And obviously, if you're FPX, you're like, how can I screw over this pick with the other 2 powerful junglers banned? It's to pick up Nocturne, which, surprise, surprise, that's exactly what FPX do in second rotation. Now, we have seen this trap set before, however, in the LPL, where you then grab something like a Camille, another dueling jungler, and you kind of force FPX into grabbing hold of the Nocturne, knowing that you have some sort of way to deal with it, and Vladimir's kind of the secondary pick of that, because Nocturne wants to assassinate people. He wants to dive into the lane phase, he wants to dive into the back lane, and against a Vladimir, if that's his only option, he's just going to pool.
And that's something that actually shows with how Suning prepare for their matches. They're such a strong early game team, not only because they're very talented during that laning phase, because they're able to synergize very well around Hacker in the jungle, but also because of their early drafts, sets them up for success throughout the course of that laning phase. Now, Cool is going to try to throw a wrench in that by picking Talon, a very easy roaming jungler, and he currently has that Smite Hubbard as well.
Yeah, this is a fairly basic composition that we can't see coming out of a lot of the LPL teams. Already before I see their last 2 picks, their first 3 picks tell me exactly what FPX want to do. They want to farm Nocturne to level 6, and then as soon as Nocturne has access to Paranoia, they're going to unlock the Talon, and they're going to rotate bottom and try to dive the bottom tier tower with both Talon and Nocturne, because they have the Swain, which is such a high kill pressure lane.
And that's why we see that Pyke ban away from Suning. Now they've got 1 ban left before FPX get their next pick. What is that possibly going to be? Because again, you already mentioned the Swain. If we're looking for the Alistar, That could be a very strong dive bottom lane. Of course, very easy to just pop under the turret and go down there. But again, that Vladimir could be flexed down to the bottom lane if they expect that dive to come, because then you just drop in a pool and try to negate it.
But then that means that you would completely sacrifice all of your bot lane pressure, because Vladimir's never going to have the push against Swain. And so while he would have some defense there because he could pool, it's probably going to be a Vladimir mid lane, because again, it's about denying the Nocturne kill pressure.
Taric is actually the pickup for FPX. And I don't think we're going to see a final composition. I think that's actually going to be a support Taric.
Yeah, it's because you have the Pyke, Kench, Rakan, and Alistar all banned. So what they still need to do their dive is the invulnerability from Taric's ultimate.
Yeah.
FPX, this is a giant roadmap, and if I see it, I know for a fact that Suning see it. So that's why they're gathering everything that they can. The Lissandra pick, there's your counter pick. It's not going to be the Vladimir Dom, it's going to be the Lissandra.
Yeah.
Now, Vladimir technically still could flex into that bottom lane, but imagine a Lissandra in the bottom lane who's doing the same job as something like an Orianna, like a Taliyah, like a Zoe when she's down in that marksman position, and that's going to be my special prediction. I think it's going to be a marksman Lissandra, although it still could flex into mid.
Well, let's see what that's going to be. Of course, Lissandra also very good at counter-pushing against a type of dive, especially when you've got a Taric and Swain coming in. The point-and-click snare is so easy. You're also able to catch Nocturne with your own snare if he decides to try and dive it as well. And then once you get the Ice Tomb, it's just easy to drop a stun on someone.
But that is a very good point, Dom. You know, maybe they decide that Fury feels more comfortable on the Vladimir. Maybe they're trying to avoid some of those early Taric stuns, and so they do grab the Vladimir into the bottom lane because they're trying to play around the 1 through 5 with the pool to make sure that they don't lose too much health early on if Taric's able to walk up.
And this is where Suning looks to play throughout their lanes, whereas FPX look to play through one lane specifically by diving it over and over and over. But that means, though, they have to get to that level 6 first, and there's a lot of early 1 through 5 pressure out of that Suning composition.
Not in the bottom lane, and that's what I'm really scared about. So FPX, they have the Swain, they have the Taric. Suning have decided that they're going to place the Lissandra into the mid lane, that Vladimir is going to the bot lane, but that automatically means that the bottom side of the map is going to be sacrificed for Suning, which now that you have a Nocturne, it's not about Nocturne invading, placing down vision, it's about him grabbing information and then hard farming to level 6. So FPX, by using that Taric pick, have almost guaranteed that their Nocturne isn't going to find any pressure, at least on one side of his jungle.
And this is where we look at Crisp and Alex's synergy, especially when paired alongside LWX on that shotgun champion. He is more of a reckless AD carry, and though he prefers his hyper carries in the late game, if he's able to get a pushing laner like Swain, that unlocks Crisp to group up with Alex and try to control that vision on the bottom side to enable for that dive later on. But this is where we look at Hacker. Can he counter around that? Is he able to play around that knowledge with that Camille, with that Lissandra in the mid lane?
And I have to say that looking at both these compositions, again, if I can see exactly what both teams want to do, then we have to trust that both Suning and FPX have a game plan. I don't think that there were any surprises that came out of this draft. Maybe the Lissandra pick, we have seen it a couple of times in the LPL, so while it is fringe, it's not completely out of left field. And so now it just comes down into execution. There's a lot of different windows of opportunity for both teams about how they want to attack the levels 1 through 7. But at level 6, this should be where everything starts exploding and we start to see who's going to grab hold of the baton and make a sprint out for a very early lead in this game.
Well, this is the battle for 4th place between these two teams, Suning and FPX, the two newcomers to the LPL. Suning joining just a little bit before FPX in 2017, and at FunPlus Phoenix joining now in 2018, trying to make a name for themselves as they try to climb that ladder of the standings here in the LPL. But now it's time. We've loaded onto the Rift. Let's hear from the crowd, their thoughts on the Suning versus FPX matchup.
So we've talked a lot about kind of the windows that these teams have and how they're going to attack the lane phase, what some of their game plans are coming into early game. But come late game, for me, I almost have to entirely weight it towards Suning's composition. I think it's easier to execute, and that's not to say that FPX don't have answers for late game. You know, they have things like the Swain. Kled can also be quite a proponent when it comes to late game team fights, just because not a lot of people understand how to play around his dismount and mounted phases. But I just think it's far easier. Mundo, Lissandra, Vladimir, there's not a lot of kill pressure that Talon will have on any of these champions come hyper late game. So if Suning do manage to fumble their early game, if they're able to stall out mid-game, and if this game goes past 35 minutes, I almost automatically weight it towards Suning.
Just through that sheer compositional power. That does mean, though, that we do see Angel with an early invade denies the level 2 start from Cool stepping into this lane. So already off to a good foot by recognizing the types of starts that Talon wants to take, as already Yoon is going to eat a quick never move for some trade in the bottom lane, but still it's just constant tracking for these two. And again, our eyes are going to be on Suning to see how they use these windows of opportunity for the first few levels.
And you know, when we usually see the Talon smite come out, in the LPL it's been going towards the Rumble. I believe in the LCK it started to comp up as well. Rumble as a champion can push hard enough, can contest hard enough that smite Talon isn't able to just run away with free EXP and farm the jungle as much as he would want. Perhaps Angel feels that he's more comfortable on Lissandra and that Lissandra can do similar things that the Rumble can do, and you can see him contesting the Raptor camp, trying to compete with Cool, not allowing him to get complete control over that mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, a further sign of his confidence is the fact that he's running Electrocute on Lissandra. He knows he's going to catch you with one little bit of CC, and here comes the burst, but Hacker, thinking about ganking mid, little does he know he's sitting directly on top of a ward. Alex going for the level 3 clear by going full bottom side. He's going to head over to his red buff, doesn't have smite, is hunting Hacker down, though Hacker is still going to look for the all-in and just try to get that trade.
That vision in the river doing a lot of good here, but Suning, because they're getting the early rotate, able to bully them out anyway. I'm curious if he's going to go ahead and contest for red. Looks like it.
Level 2 to level 3. And with double buff, Hacker does feel enough empowered by the pressure in his mid lane, the pushing top lane to try and fight over this.
And now it's all going to be about the smite and who's going to use it to get health back. If Hacker continues to tank up a lot of free damage here, but I feel like because Alex doesn't have access to his trinket, he's actually going to have to go ahead and let this one go. If he did have the trinket, he'd place it in that brush, and he'd force Hacker to try to burn an early smite just to keep his health up in the 2v1 red buff Nocturne versus Camille.
But we don't see that. Instead, Alex decides to take the safe approach and just back away, starts to work on Krugs before heading back to base to pick up another jungle item and a control ward as, ooh, Flash Shadow Dash. They're actually going all in on LWX, and they get first blood.
Yoon throws down the gauntlet there, and we're starting to see why Shen was such a high priority. Yes, you know that teams are going to grab the Swain. You want to separate the Shen-Swain combo. Yes, you can set up a trap that if you see a Shen, as well as banning 2 high-priority junglers, that it almost means for certain that there's going to be a Nocturne. And Shen making up for the fact that Vladimir doesn't win a lot of these bottom lanes early on. But here comes Alex trying to even the score.
Dazzle is going to miss. Never Move misses as well. That's the slow. Yoon, he used his flash earlier. Visions of Empire in the auto attack. He's pulled back in. Spirit's Refuge, and he's able to walk it off without any summoner spells. Of course, Fury doing the same with that Boots Predator start. I think that's how he was able to catch up with the Blood Rush so quickly and just drop that surprise damage.
Yeah, and then immediately going for the Hextech Revolver and just grabbing more of that sustain. So it's going to be really hard to move Fury and Yoon, and with how confident Yoon is acting on this Shin, they could still theoretically have a lot of kill pressure here. And reminder that this is the big breaking point for FPX composition. They want to farm Nocturne till 6, they want to unlock Cool in the Talon, and they want to dive that bottom lane with the Taric Swain.
Well, already not having flash on either of those champions does not bode well for unlocking that bottom lane, though hopefully they will have those summoners back up by about 10-11 minutes. We should be seeing level 7, level 8 by that time, so perhaps slightly delaying FPX's optimal window they want to play around.
Now, of course, then Suning recognize that, and they have double teleport. As long as they don't burn these early teleports, if they're not forced out of their lanes, if they're able to walk back confidently, then if FPX do go to attempt that dive at that level 6 through 9 window, Suning are just like, I dare you.
Please.
It's almost kind of a two-step problem where FPX have to make sure that they get the teleports out, either by forcing untimely backs or ganking the lanes repeatedly before they can even look to try to threaten this lane or crack it open.
Now, it should be noted, we are still playing on patch 8.13, so we do still have 1 minute less on the full cooldown of teleport. It shouldn't interact too much because we're already at the 5-6 minute mark, which is right before that window. So if there is an opportunity for FPX or Suning, Xiao Al, or Gimgoon to look for a quick early teleport back into the top lane, now would be the time to do it, but they seem to be content just to farm it out and stay nice and safe.
And a lot of that is because Alex has been unable to apply a lot of pressure, which is why I frankly feel that Nocturne hasn't been quite as effective as he needs to in the LPL versus more global regions. But Suning, It's not a Rumble, it is Lysandra, and they were able to get the earlier rotation. Now looking
over
for
the
the
wall,
gank.
that's the knockup. They've caught
Here comes
LWX
Lys.
again. He's level 5. Angel over the wall. Managed to catch up. They already find 1 kill, but it's a double passed over to the Vladimir.
And it doesn't even matter that it's Vladimir. Like, yes, it matters that he's picking up the kills, but it doesn't matter that it's Vladimir in the lane. Shin is doing so much work here and showcasing why he was so important to be a priority pick, and FPX looking like they have some egg on their face right now.
Certainly caught by surprise in this matchup, as FLICKR with the big flash over the wall is able to catch the slow onto LWX, and Yoon goes for the walking shadow dash as an answer. That does mean level 5 picked up by FLICKR. We're still not seeing level 6 yet out of Alex. Slowly but surely he's getting there, but it's just taking so long.
But even now, kind of the win conditions have changed because his bottom lane is suffering so heavily. So, like I was saying, normally the Rumble is used as kind of the counter to make sure that you can out-rotate Talon. Lysandra seems to be working just as fine. She gets involved on the back half of that fight, using the claw through the terrain, and just extra little assist there.
So wait, what did that mean?
What do you mean?
They have egg on their face?
Yeah, because they let the Shin go through. Look at their ban phase. Like, Shin has been such a high contested pick, and they allowed it to go through the priority pick, and then they grabbed hold of the Nocturne.
No,
so
I understand the sentiment of your message. I don't know what egg on your face means. Why would you ever have an egg on your face?
Embarrassment. You've never heard that saying?
No.
Oh. I'm so sorry.
Now I have egg on my face.
Yes.
I don't know what that's saying.
I was like, do you need me to walk you through this one?
It's such a weird imagine as someone who's never heard that before. It's like, now they've got egg on their face. Okay, wait, what? Why do they have egg on their face? I don't know. Anyways, English is weird. Okay, level 6 picked up by Alex as he does take that Raptor camp. Still looking for an opportunity to head bottom, but again, like you said, the win conditions have changed. Maybe now he can try to farm cool in the mid lane. He's got that Tiamat and
But how
Boots.
is he going to farm cool in the mid, or Angel in the mid lane when you're competing against Lysandra and Shin?
Ugh.
So do you go top and try to get Mundo and Shin?
With the stopwatch?
FPX, I think that they've been outdrafted here. I think that they got put into the trap of grabbing hold of the Nocturne to try to counteract the Shin priority pick. Suning had a plan for it. We've seen other LPL teams do this. And now FPX, where they needed to capitalize on the early game and had windows to do so, that window has entirely shut unless they try to force it back open and Suning make a mistake. And then again, we go back to the fact that Suning's composition will actually just outscale.
Yeah.
At this point, Suning, they're in cruise control. And it's only 8 minutes in the game.
Yeah, that's why we call them one of the best early game teams in the league, is here we go. That's another one. Ooh!
Good flash.
Tagging onto Gimgoon, but like you said, the flash gets him to safety throughout that charge.
So at this point, if I'm FPX, I'm like, break the game. Just start throwing everything. Chaos, let's go brawling. Like, the measured control area is out of it. Now just start throwing as many ganks as possible into lane phases and try to crack Suning's inexperience. Because while we do call them Baby Invictus, they don't have the same experience or temperament that IG have, and they will make the incorrect decision. So they have all of the power now, but Suning still learning how to control that power all the way through to close a game on.
Yes, that said, the risk of trying to do that is that it becomes a full-on fight. And if we take a look at Suning right now, that Vlad, he's got the finished proto belt. We're already seeing the mobility out of Angel with boots too, those sorcerer boots, and we've nearly got a full item completion on both Xiao, Al, and Angel is still working on his own. So, yes, I feel like Chaos is a good idea, but that's also scary because you're playing against Suning. Now that they've got that advantage, now that they're starting to complete some items, and there's an Ocean Dragon on the map.
It means that FPX must make sure that they have a numbers advantage when they gank bottom. While we have kind of been going back and forth about can they gank bottom, is there really a window anymore? They almost have to because they're competing against the Shen. Now, there is a small window because Angel doesn't have TP, which is why I like the fact that Cool and Nocturne are both hard rushing bottom. Issue is that Suning have vision in river, so as soon as Cool starts to rotate over, he'll be spotted out. This is a straight force, and I think FPX almost have to force this play because, again, you're competing against the Shen. It fizzles out.
But look at that. Yoon just steps into the brush. Alex shows himself with that Duskbringer and has to back away. Now, he's still on this side of the map, and Cool is starting to roam down here as well, but immediately, Suning, they drop the pings. They know where Cool is. They know Alex is here.
This is desperation. You're actually just watching a team swat it out right now as they're trying to figure out the Rubik's Cube.
Oh, FLICKR is the target. He goes back around, manages to land the Hextech Ultimatum, the Flash Engage, as Angel goes in, the Claw of Ice, but he goes golden throughout the feared Chow out, teleports in. Ooh! Face first into the trees. Eats some Raptor egg. Now he's got egg on his face. as Cool is going to sprint around the other side. And that was a late teleport from Gimgoon. Remember, he has no charge, but Cool is able to escape with his life.
Also felt like it was a late stand United. I think the Nocturne Paranoia may have caused some problems there. I'd have to go back and watch like the true timings and if he died in the
Angel
ultimate.
catches him, the flash, the slow. Oh, but the Rake is able to get a slow, and Cool is over the wall.
So FPX, they were trying to figure out the Rubik's Cube problem that they had. They're like, okay, we can't really gank bottom because our bottom lane's just getting their asses handed to them right now. We can't gank top because we're dealing with the Shin. I've got it.
Let's peel off the stickers and put them back on.
We must assassinate with our 2v2 in the jungle. They managed to kill someone in the duration of the Paranoia so that Shin can't get there in time.
Yeah.
And Cool, fancy footwork gets out. So unfortunately, face first flash into the wall means that Alex also can't get out. But I do like the fact that, like, okay, we need to break this. This is how we're going to do it.
I managed to get that kill onto Hacker, finally starting to get a little bit of gold onto the roster. Alex, he's the one who's able to pick that up as he finishes off the Warriors enchant, and that should help out with a bit of the damage. Hacker, not again! Oh, he actually dodges that one, and now Angel is there. And suddenly Alex finds himself in a bad spot. The Claw. Angel's just going to walk this kill off out of the back. Even Fury's trying to get in there. Did he use Predator to try to catch up? He did.
So my only analysis there is going to be that Cool, and I know it was Cool,
yeah,
question mark pinged the mid lane.
Said, I do not know where my mid lane is.
No, it was more so, I know where I am, and it's nowhere near you.
And again, this is why we still see Alex as the newer jungler for FPX, still perhaps looking to synergize a bit more fully with the team. We know that he synergized with them in their past match against Royal Never Give Up. Maybe now he just needs to clean up a few of the playing from behind aspects with FPX, as now Dragon has been picked up, and Suning find themselves a comfortable 2,000 gold ahead. Still no turrets have been broken yet, so this laning phase does mean that FPX can continue to safely gorge themselves on minions.
They definitely need to have a feast right now. It needs to be an all-you-can-eat buffet, particularly for the talent, so he can have kill pressure on people. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he'll have a lot of options. Unless he can insta-kill someone with Paranoia. That is something that they can do. They can try to play a side lane. Because they have Kled, Nocturne, and Talon, apparently at some point...
triple stack?
Exactly. They're going to want to separate Suning across the map and then just try to find assassination potential. And again, try to kill them before Shen shows up and ruins their party.
Ooh, something tells me that takes a lot of intelligent setup, preparation, side lane control, preparation, and vision. All of which are things that FPX... how do I put this delicately, aren't great at. This is a team that thrives in the chaos. They want it to be fisticuffs versus fisticuffs. No gloves, no shirt and tie or anything like that. This is bare knuckle brawling that FPX try to thrive in. Unless maybe they've been experimenting with different forms of combat that Suning might not be prepared for. But right now, Suning, they seem to be on top of their game. They're just playing a nice standard laning phase. The question is, how does Suning look to break open the game to prevent that from happening?
They don't necessarily really need to. Suning are totally fine to sit in extended lane phases. So you kind of have this situation where FPX are like, yes, we need to sit here so we can actually have access to gold. And Suning are like, this is fine. We've got a Mundo, we have a Vladimir. I want all of the items.
And not this house is burning down, this is fine, but it's actually a bright sunny day. You're having a cup of tea.
So I still feel that a lot of pressure is on FPX to get creative in this early game so they can start strong in mid-game. Because they need to execute in that mid-game when they still have kill pressure with a lot of their assassination tools. So.
And again, we have to turn our attention to the leader of the team then to set up those plays. Cool in the mid lane. We know that this is something that he has struggled with in the past. He's a mechanical player, he's a good shot caller, but his creativity in some situations hasn't been a big strength of him over the past year.
And he can truly be the hero of this game.
Yeah.
We've seen the Smite Talons, you know, come over the wall, grab the Baron steals, and try to snatch victory back from
the jaws of defeat.
Exactly. So if Cool's going to make big plays, he's got all of the tools to do so. He can be very flashy on a champion like Talon. But we've just seen a lot of Talons start to stall out as more often than not, LPL is starting to draft towards the team fight, getting your big tanky front line, and Talon losing a lot of targets that he can kill.
Well, now he's got his Duskblade, so a little bit more assassination threat on some of those squishier targets and vision denial.
So what he should do is continuously clear mid lane and then just start throwing his face into the jungle, and hopefully Nocturne is nearby that he can follow up with the Paranoia. They're going Camille hunting.
Yeah, much like what they're doing right now. Even Gimgoon's being brought towards the mid lane just in case that Camille is nearby, but Hacker takes the safe pathing, the Gimgoon pathing, and actually manages to find onto him, but the fight breaks out. Hacker thinks he wants this, but Cool is there. Immediately the snares, Cool goes in, they get the kill. That's the paranoia. Hacker will be killed by Alex on the backside, but Cool is back over the wall, running for the hills again. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Not sure if that's worth it. As there's a fight in the mid lane, Fury goes in 1 versus 2. Yoon did use the Stand United to join that fight.
And it's a hit and run from FPX, and I like the creativity here. They recognize that they can't be standard with their gank pass, that they need to find people in the jungle. This time around, it's Gimgoon that runs face first into Camille.
Yeah.
But because of the fancy footwork, because of the mobility of their champions, they are kind of trading 1-for-1, 1-for-2 in these scenarios, and at least getting people out with extra assist gold. So it's not the types of lead, and it's not as clean as they would have wanted, but it is something.
Oh, Xiao. He's going to start chucking some briefcases at Cool to keep him busy. But this is also where we have to mention that Suning, there's a reason we call them the best early game team and not the best early and mid game team. Because then we start to get to the mid game after exceptional early laning phases and plays like this begin to happen.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously didn't communicate where Gimgoon was. It seemed that they were actually just confused that he was going to be in the brush. So if you're going to leverage any sort of complaint, it would be that. There were also a lot of key summoner spells, the teleport coming out of Mundo, as well as the Stand United. And it could have still been played cleaner. You know, if Nocturne was that much closer, then the Stand United doesn't get through, and then maybe you don't trade 1-for-1 in that scenario.
The big scare, though, is that this is indicative of a larger issue for the team, is that despite being the best early game team in the league, perhaps it's a bit relaxed play from them that they continue to make mistakes like this.
I mean, ultimately, FPX and Suning have the same rival, and it's time. It's inexperience. They just need more time to figure out how they're communicating with each other, what their communication patterns are, how they synergize, and then after a couple of splits, it'll start to get better. Now, we expect Suning to be the stronger team here because this roster has been together longer, but you are still putting in a completely new piece like Angel into this program.
And again, this is a team that joined along with Dan Gaming in 2017. They've had largely the same roster with Fury, Yoon, and Xiao Al, Hacker as well. And of course, Angel in the mid lane is the newest addition to that. So again, this is a team that has been slowly ramping up over time, but FPX looking for that creative play again. Paranoia is ready for Alex as he's level 11, but there goes Suning.
I just don't think Lissandra's where you crack this one open, boys. I think you have to go Camille hunting again.
And look at that, even the Proto Belt now finished on that Camille too, and Fury has finished Spellbinder's second. Once he gets that thing up to 100 stacks, it's going to be a lot of damage. A lot of damage.
Yeah.
I love the 100 Spellbinder Vladimir. It just seems so dirty when you're like, oh, he's only at 2 items. I think we can fight this. I'm at 1.5. And then you get hit by the 100 bonus, or sorry, the 80 bonus AP plus the Hemo Plague and the Blood Rush.
And the nice thing is that Fury is one of our marksman Vladimir players that definitely knows the damage scaling of Vladimir. He's very confident on the champion. He looks like a natural at it, and then in tandem with Yoon. I was having this discussion with Raz actually on the podcast that if you're ranking 2v2 bot lanes, that Fury and Yoon would be the 3rd strongest bot lane in the LPL behind Uzi Ming and Mako Boy.
And why is that? Just because of his knowledge of damage as Rift Herald breaks down the mid-tier 1?
Flexibility in champion pool, and then also the fact that as a duo, they just are on point. Their synergy is incredible, their communication, they have multiple 2v2 kills on our top and bottom lanes, and the one that would be competing with them would be something like SMLZ versus Kahlua.
Yeah.
But Yoon is so much stronger than Kahlua right now, even though you would weight SMLZ over Fury. So again, it's the collective 2v2, and just the creativity, power in draft phase, the fact that they can be a hard carry bottom lane if needed, and they've completely dominated this game. Yoon is, you know, 1, 0, and 4 out of 6 kills. He's participated in 5 of them, just on fire right now.
Absolutely setting up very well, as it's only about a 14 CS lead for Fury as we get towards that 20-minute mark. He's still looking for a recall so he can complete another tier 2 stage of his boots, if not another item. Angel in mid lane has finished off his own Zanya's Hourglass, so now it's definitely not going to be the mid lane that gets broken open by FPX. And that's, doesn't even get, are those Boots of Lucidity? They are, and a needlessly large rod.
I feel like I closed my eyes and suddenly it's 20 minutes in the game. I swear it was only 8 minutes in.
This is starting to accelerate a little bit more quickly for Suning as they are expanding their advantage. They broke down the tier 1. Now it's an easy rotation top. FPX, they didn't see it coming.
FPX are in the point of the game where lane phase, early lane kills, it's just non-existent. They're looking for picks. They're looking to make this fast, furious, and as chaotic as quickly. They want to break down Suning's systematic game plan, because that's what Suning can go into, just very easy systems about how they sweep out all of the outer towers, how they then start setting up over Baron. It's going to be the same song and dance that we see every time because their 5v5 is so much stronger. So at this point, you're looking at Gimgoon, you're looking at Cool, and you're looking at Alex. These three pieces must start to pick people off into those side lanes and crack Suning. Create that chaos, that animal style, and then hopefully when they pull them down into the mud, they've got more experience down there and they're able to beat them with it. But otherwise, this can be very calm and calculated from Suning.
Yeah, and that's what we see so far. 1,300 gold advantage for Fury. Angel in the mid lane, only 400 gold ahead, but it's another 1,000 gold advantage for Xiao in the top lane. And despite all that, though, Alex, picking up those 2 kills, finds himself 400 gold ahead of FLICKR. That said, with the Duskblade, BF Sword, and another Serrated Dirk, it's full-on assassination style out of this Nocturne. But he's going to need a little bit more than just himself, unless it's that Camille that he finds. And so far, FLICKR's been doing a pretty good job of keeping someone nearby whenever he takes any risky plays, like when he stepped up towards the old Banana Brush. He had Alex nearby. He had Yoon with that stand unit.
Buddy system.
Yeah.
That's what we are. We're buddy systems. Cool and Alex, they're big buddies. And then
holding hands, yeah.
FLICKR just needs to make sure that he's got Angel or he's got Yoon next to him.
Mm-hmm. Well, Xiao is already acting as a human bodyguard into the jungle of FPX as their map is getting smaller and smaller, and this is now a rotation down to the bottom tier 1. It is completely undefended by FPX, though there is a ward for them to place, and looks like Suning are ready to start a fight, even utilizing a teleport out of Yuri. And that's a flash from Crisp to get under the turret.
And meanwhile, while all of this is happening, a creep wave is going to be stumbling into that bottom tower, and it looks like Suning are actually going to leave it to fall to the creeps naturally. Now, Gimgoon, he hasn't joined the team. He's basically decided, okay, we cannot fight them 5v5. We either need to distract Suning and stall out so that this team gets to a 50-50. Maybe we find a miracle team fight and then happen to end it there. Or we start making picks out into side lanes. So I'm parking it up here. If you want to join me, that's fine.
He's trying to park it up here, but he's already forced to back away as Xiao finally finishes off that turret. Okay, low-key, Talon is actually pretty good against Mundo if you cannot die to the Burning Agony.
But the problem is that he doesn't, like the time that it would take to track down Mundo.
The Noxian diplomacy.
And so, at that point, Shin's looking at him like, do you need help? Are you okay? Is it fine?
The true damage burn just feels so good when you stack it on. He's got tons and tons of health, but it doesn't matter because it's true damage.
But Mundo's not going to take there and sit there.
Yeah.
He's like, scratch.
Oh, well, another one. Cool is just a mosquito at this point. You can even see what Cool is building with the Executioner's Calling and the Last Whisper. He knows that he might have to be dealing with that Mundo in the side lane, but I just don't know if that's worth the investment.
Oh, they have to itemize for side lanes. They can't group up for the 5v5. Again, the system is now starting to take over. We're starting to see the formula of Suning. They've now taken all the outers. They're moving to place triangle vision around the Baron, and they're going to bounce between mid and top lane. FPX know it, Suning know it, and Suning are just like, when you gonna mess up? Because if you do, the Baron's ours, and so is the game. And now FPX are like, okay, tear everything down, raise it to the ground, burn it all. We're taking them down with us. Let's get crazy, boys.
So you say it's the same old song and dance that we see time and again, the dance around Baron, the fight for vision, the constant maneuvering back and forth. What song do you think that is exactly?
Well, in the LPL, oftentimes it's Benny Hill.
Yakety Sax? Okay, yeah. Benny Hill, Yakety Sax, same.
Yeah.
One of those two.
Just play it on 2x speed, watch them dance.
Exactly.
But for some teams, it is a nice, waltz.
Mm-hmm. The dramatic back and forth. Sometimes you get some good epic Lord of the Rings, like building Battle for Helm's Deep music.
I watched that one last night in Invictus Gaming, Edward Gaming.
Oh yeah. Great series. Highly recommended if you ever interested in watching two of the best teams in the LPL go head-to-head.
If you want to watch the best Zoe player in the world,
you
must watch last night's game.
I spent maybe, what was that, 10, 15 minutes?
It was a solid 20.
Rewinding the same 4 or 5 second clip over and over to see how he saw that play, because there was a really interesting interaction.
I don't know how Scout knew. I don't know how he knew Rookie was there.
So, Rookie had Banshee's Veil, but was still hit by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. And if you watch the replay, his Banshee's Veil was popped before the Sleepy Trouble Bubble hits him.
I'm telling you, Dom, the Banshee Veil doesn't matter. How did he know he was there? Before the play even begins, the Spidey senses.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Galio teleport, right? The deep teleport into Raptor Camp to get a 5-man flash taunt. This is why we love the LPL.
Best mechanics in the world.
Yeah, and this is why we also, love some plays like this. As Angel's looking to go mono versus Cool and is chasing onto him. The flash shadow dash catches him, but Cool is over the wall, dies before the Cosmic Radiance can save him. Again, best mechanics in the world. Diving into the turret, Yoon goes forward along with Fury. They get a big pop, but now Xiaoao is tanking, and he wants these kills. He's diving in with the rest of Suning. This is getting a little bit reckless, though. Alex looking for another, but Suning kited it back expertly. Xiaoao is still tanking. And finally, they're going to finish off a few more. You can see Gimgoon picks up Kled again. It's actually a triple kill for Alex. He's been in Demonic Ascension the whole time. Never moved, locks it down, and that's the quadra kill for Alex. FPX survive.
And from the jaws of defeat, FPX managed to crack it open to make the chaos and Suning make the mistake. We talk about the inexperience. It's so systematic for them. They can constantly bounce between mid and top lane. Eventually, the structures will collapse and they will get tanky enough, but they decide to dive. They get too hyphy, they get too much in their heads, and Gimgoon and Swain do so much work underneath this tower. Tower must be MVP. The amount of shots that it went off. So from the very beginning, Cool stalls out long enough. He's able to get them underneath the tower with some fancy footwork, flipping out of the flash taunt. But then this is where everything goes sideways. They don't juggle the tower aggros effectively. Xiaoao, he's like, yeah, I'm Mundo. I can sit here under the tower. He's still taking tower shots, and no one is touching Swain. And then while they think that, okay, we'll kill Gimgoon first, and then we'll turn on to Swain, Gimgoon remounts.
12.
And the second wind comes in. And the tower then has taken, what, how many shots?
13.
13 shots. And it's now massive gold into Swain's back pocket. And we said at the very beginning, you know, maybe their miracle is that people don't know how to play around the mounted and unmounted windows of Kled. And that's exactly what happened there.
1, 1, and 5. And now we're also seeing 3 items finished on LWX as he is 4, 2, and 1. Off the back of that fight, and all of the time that Suning just spent setting up around the Baron, setting up the triangle vision, pushing in their side waves, is now gone. They have to reset, and that gives more time for FPX to get back into the game. Now, this is the 3rd Ocean Dragon that's spawning. Suning is trying to finish it off. Cool is there with Smite, level 17 to level 14.
And the best thing is that all of the gold funneled on for FPX exactly who they needed it to funnel onto. If they have a security blanket in a late game, it is going to be in that big Swain pick just because of all of the damage, how we can control a team fight. So I still weight this towards Suning. They shouldn't make a mistake like that again. They should still theoretically be stronger in the 5v5 unless they mis-execute. But FPX, there's a small little light. They see it at the end of the tower. They're no longer just standing in utter darkness, just like
there's a single candle off in the distance.
Twiddling their thumbs.
Like a good video game cutscene. They just need to make their way towards that light and survive for long enough because it is quite the challenge. And Suning, if we call them baby Invictus Gaming, they just showed the same problem that Invictus Gaming themselves make is when they get too hyphy in the laning phase, sometimes they get a little over-aggressive with their advantages. Jackie Love comes to mind. And FPX, they're playing that same measured, chaotic style, just waiting for Suning to slip and stumble just enough for FPX to pull them down.
FPX at this point are a dog that's been backed into a corner, which that's probably when it's most dangerous.
Oh, there's the paranoia. Pull goes in. Alex is still looking for the opening. Dives into the back. Actually, a lot of damage onto Fury, but Alex gets popped into the GA. Hacker in the front. He's going to be taking a lot of damage. Steps to the side. Oh, it's Cool. They managed to finish off Alex's. Cool goes down as well. It's up to LWX now. Has he got the damage? He's getting chunked real low. That's a big burst. He's able to finish off Hacker, but LWX is still trying to do even more. He drops himself down. No more Demonic Ascension, but Death's Hand still going to fire across. It's not enough, though. Suning juggle the aggro correctly and win the team fight.
And FPX, we said that it would have to be a mis-execution from Suning. Their 5v5 should still be stronger. Swain did what he could with the new gold that he had, but it's just clear that FPX, they don't understand when they're actually in a winning position. They lose the team fight, they lose the Baron, and Suning are right back into driving control.
And you see Gimgoon in your player cam right now, sort of head in his hands after that fight. He knew it, we knew it. It was all about the mis-execution for Suning. But this time they're able to execute successfully, showing us why they've been growing so consistently since they first joined the LPL in 2017.
And there's no reason to take that fight. You know, FPX, they pretty much bait themselves into it. There were so many different opportunities where they could have looked to disengage, but they pulled the trigger, they tried to go in. The Taric ultimate doesn't do any work for them because of the deep TP into the backline. Suning just disengaged, like, okay, we can't hit the invulnerable targets. Let's just immediately pop the GA. That guy's in the middle of the team. Let's immediately kill him. And then at this point, it's like, okay, what can Swain get done? Which he does get a lot done, but you're still playing at a numbers disadvantage, and you're still playing against a much stronger 5v5 comp.
Yoon with the 3-man shadow dash that I completely missed during that fight catches the remaining 3 surviving members of FPX in a straight line. Bay caught them sleeping. And FPX, that's not a selfie they want to take.
It's just a head scratcher.
Yeah.
FPX, they should have the veteran talent on that type of roster, just individually, not together. But LWX has been playing for a long time. Cool, Gimgoon, legacy players that you just don't know when you're strong enough to take a fight.
Oh, this is the chase. Yoon actually tanks the hit. Now they're in a very narrow corridor. LWX could get a chance to do some damage as Cool comes in from behind. The Cosmic Radiance hits 5, but there's the AoE. That's Angel so very low. He's got the flash. Is he going to try to get out of this one? The Zanya's right out of the back. He resets it over the wall, chases, and Suning are able to back out of this one. Angel still got the CC to kite it out as the rest of his team sets up a front line and allows them to fire across. Hacker finishes off 1, Fury gets the 2nd, Alex gets the 3rd, and that is another ace for Suning.
Live fast, die young. That seems to be FPX's motto right now. And you can understand kind of where they're coming from. They think, grab the Taric ultimate. I think that the team is split up, that they're not in position. Hopefully we can burst people down fast enough and take the team fight. Ultimately, though, they just don't have the damage, they don't have the kill pressure, and they've lost the game.
Yeah, Suning pushing onto the Nexus now off the back of that team fight. The best early game team takes a strong early game, fumbles a team fight, but is able to recover with the 2nd, and with that, they are closing out the game 32 minutes in against FPX.
And if you're gonna give man of the match to anyone, my vote would be for Yoon. It was Yoon's ability to set up the bot lane, put them on the right foot for success, which sometimes doesn't happen. It's inconsistent when you have the Vladimir there. It was definitely the Shin that did a lot of the hard lifting. And when he definitively won bottom lane, everything fell apart for FPX. We said it in draft phase. From their first 3 picks, you know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to farm Nocturne to level 6, unlock Talon, and then gank the bottom lane with the invulnerability from Taric and dive it repeatedly. As soon as that wasn't an option for them, everything fell apart.
Yeah, just closing the window, keeping track of what FPX wanted to try to do and absolutely denying it. You can still see massive damage out of LWX in those late team fights. He's still the shotgun of the LPL, that reckless carry who likes to go in and add to that chaotic nature of the team, but didn't get the opportunity against a team like Suning, who juggled the aggro correctly with the Vladimir ducking under Alex's dive, with that Angel Lissandra constantly tracking Cool's talent and preventing him from getting an assassination. They were just able to outdamage and out-comp FPX in this game.
And that's the big thing for me. It's the fact that it started from minute 0. Before we were even on the rifts, Suning, I believe, or in my personal opinion, outdrafted FPX, that they brilliantly had an option for what FPX wanted to do, and then made sure that they were able to follow that game plan from the very start to set themselves up on the right foot to success.
And this is, again, the preparation that we expect of it. One of the best, if not the best, early game teams in the league, that they're able to come in, scout out their opponents correctly. And this is something that we're still looking for some of our top tier teams in the LPL. Invictus Gaming being one that comes to mind. Their draft sometimes can get a little wonky. Same thing with EDG when they get into Game 2, Game 3s of the series.
Yeah, this is actually, I think, a huge credit to Suning. I think that they draft better than a lot of our elite teams. I think they draft better than RNG. I think they definitely draft better than Edward Gaming. And they're almost just as consistent as IG, which is, again, kind of goes back to that moniker of baby Invictus Gaming. It's not just their propensity for blood and for the early game. It's also the fact that they have very strong, clever drafts because their champion pools are so wide, and they can pull out a lot of these strategies where other LPL teams are maybe pigeonholed into some of their signature picks or their legacy picks because they can't just quite outreach.
And this is where we're seeing the team grow because they can play a handful of these different styles almost RNG-esque. I think that's why we say that RNG is such a good team right now, because they are capable of playing almost any style in the LPL to a high degree. But Suning is bringing that from the bottom up instead of from the top down, which is, I think, a different style to RNG in that. So still a very strong performance from that. We do have to commend LWX for his fight in the top lane, getting that quadra kill, though, because that was no easy feat in that team fight. When you've got 5 people from Suning diving you and trying to break the game open, to have the calm and patience to position yourself successfully on Swain is something that has to be applauded.
I mean, the bowling pins were set up and LWX did do a good job knocking them down. I don't know if I really credit all of this to him. I think Kim Koon definitely did his part, or more importantly, Skarl did her part, making sure that she gets remounted, because ultimately Suning are just thinking, kill the Kled first, then we'll deal with the Swain. But they overcommit themselves trying to kill Kled. There you go. I guess LWX did get the CC lock there, so credit to him. But combined effort, I think Kim Koon did his job.
Yeah, I think I might have miscounted it. It's either 13 or 14 turret shots.
That's way too many.
That's
about 10 too many,
He had the gargoyle stone plate, so he effectively nullified that entire thing with one item. But still, that is a lot of time they spent under that turret. What's the attack speed on it? 1 attack per second?
I have no idea.
On that turret.
I don't spend a lot of time under the towers to figure it out.
Yeah, I know. I remember that time you and I dived. Remember the Kai'Sa Alistar? Where we dove she made a call to dive the turret, missed her CC, and then just left me to die.
I can't miss my CC on Alistar. It's targetable, dog.
You still missed it, and I still died. Anyways, to get further into the rest of the game, we've also got that final fight to break down how Suning was able to close it out, recovering from that mistake. Again, we saw it at the end of the game in that replay, successfully juggling the aggro, preventing FPX from diving the backline as a collective unit. And that's between Angel and Fury, juggling the potential aggro, to use WoW terms, of who will survive the longest and who can do the most damage.
And you know, I like the thought process from FPX here. They're saying, we think that Suning is split, their Mundo is definitely separated from their tank line. Hopefully we're able to kill them in the duration of the Taric ultimate, and then that will be enough to get us over the line. But like you're saying, the juggle between Yoon and Angel, very fancy footwork from all of Suning involved. They're able to disengage and then have the proper target selection to just rip this team fight apart and let its gold lead speak for itself.
And it's an easy finish from the rest of that fight to close out the game, just turning towards the Nexus to break it down, because again, they were able to pick up that early advantage and play the patient style to close out the Nexus. So again, draft is absolutely a big takeaway from Suning. FPX, we've got to see if they can recover in that game too, because now the onus is on them. If they want to win the series, they need to go 2-0 against Suning.
And what they need to do is drop the Nocturne. Stop playing Nocturne. Unless you are a coordinated, intelligent team where you can set up plays minutes in advance, which FPX are not a team that can do that. They are a 45-second, maybe a minute 30 in advance type of team. They're very reactionary in what they like to set up. Don't do it. It's a giant hole. By not giving Alex any sort of dueling potential in the early game, you effectively make him team reliant, and he's too new into the team to have that synergy built up. Just give him something like a Camille, like a Talia, like a Kindred, even a Graves, Trundle, one of those champions where he can be a bit more self-sufficient and start setting up plays on his own decision making versus trying to coordinate the paranoia with the rest of his team when there's still obvious growing pains.
And I think that's something we can talk about for Suning, is that they are able to play that team style, especially around Angel with that Lissandra in that mid lane. He'll take our MVP for that game 1 performance.
Yoon was robbed.
He was. The 3-man taunt. But again, 5-1-11. Look at that kill store. 20% of his team's damage. 100%, nearly 100% damage to gold efficiency. For the new player to Suning, he's putting up some numbers.
And this is huge because ultimately people saw Knight disappear. I know that he was Raz and Clement. Shout out to you guys. Rookie of the split. Mine was Yugao. Remind me who's still playing. But Angel comes into the roster and says, we don't need Knight to be successful. Now Suning are still just competing for that 4th place spot, whereas JD are competing for that 3rd place spot, 2nd place possibly. But still climbing
Just got to get that little extra dig in.
I was right, they were wrong.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get that game 2 ready. Don't go anywhere. The LPL will be right back.
速牛队员不会为遗憾找借口，必须变强，必须进步。